Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julie Ann Peterson, and I am your host every Tuesday night for Zoom at 8. You know, we have been doing this for over 5 years now, meeting. And you know what? Our speaker tonight, Jeff Hoch, is one of the first people that came to Zoom at 8. So I'm excited for you guys to meet. If you're new to Zoom at 8, you've probably never met Jeff. But he is our industry expert tonight, and you're going to learn a ton about all of the information on smart home technology and other items that would be really helpful to your CapEx budget, or where you want to go into kind of the future and getting things updated for your clients, because as you know, they can make or break you, and you want to keep your tenants very, very happy. So if you're looking at a deal, we want to be your number one lender of choice. So you want to swing by the lender to make sure that you're not overpaying for the asset. So we're going to ask for your T12 rent roll, offering memorandum, and your underwriting. And we will turn a quote in 48 hours. That's a service that I provide because I really want you to be successful. Now, you can come to Zoom at 8 and find every partner possible for your team. Tonight is going to be like no other. You can find your sponsor. You've got attorneys here. You've got cost segregation. You have investors. In fact, I'm working on a deal right now. If you're looking to raise capital, you can come onto our deal and bring some money to the deal. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Old Capital, we are specialists in multifamily. Zoom at 8, we are specialists in introducing you to the right people. I'm excited about tonight because my friend, Jeff Hoch, is in the house. He has been a friend for 5, maybe 6 years. We used to be seeing each other on Zoom calls on a weekly basis. So it's been uncommon that I get to spend time with Jeff because he's busy. He has 5 kids, you guys, and a grandson. So he's a busy guy. But I want you to know who Jeff Hoch is. He is the Chief Revenue Officer and partner at ePropertyCare he's based in New York. He focuses on sales, marketing, and alliance partnerships on behalf of the firm. ePropertyCare is a national service provider for Alarm.com and Point Central. ePropertyCare provides turnkey solutions for multifamily, student housing, and build-to-rent communities nationwide. We actually use his services on our property in Houston. He also works with my partner on properties that she manages. Besides retrofitting existing buildings to modernize them, ePropertyCare has a large practice area around ground-up development. And ground up has been crazy. So some of their services that they include would be building access control, video surveillance, water leak detection, shut off and smart apartment technologies like smart locks, smart thermostats, and water sensors. And they have a large array of video intercom solutions. Before coming to Property Care, Jeff worked in the commercial real estate and multifamily development. So he has a great background and can really help understand how his products can work hand in hand with these commercial properties. Before entering the commercial real estate, Jeff had 20 years career in corporate information technology, where he led systems engineering teams and was a vice president of IT service delivery. He is married, as I mentioned, with 5 kids, a grandfather, and has lots of causes outside of work, philanthropic, hopefully. And he is the creator of the PropTech Today podcast and an active contributor to multifamily LinkedIn community. So that is a lot of information about Jeff. I am excited to have him here tonight. So please take your attention and make sure that we give him all your time and attention as you look at the right-hand side of your screen and go to the 9 little dots. It says view, and make him the speaker. You see me now, but let's hear from Jeff. Welcome to Zoom at 8 again. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for hosting me and everyone else. It's wonderful
Oh,
to see you.
it
And
is
it's like a reunion. I know many people on the call, so I'm thrilled to see them also.
fantastic.
I started sharing my screen. I'm not certain you could
It
see it or
is.
not.
You
So
are
you could,
good to go.
okay. So let's get right into it, and we'll go. I do have some slides, but we'll make it interactive. Okay, agenda, introduction, presentation, Q&A. Uh, Stay on mute during the presentation. If you'd like to be called on, raise your hand, place your questions in the chat. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end, and don't be afraid to have fun. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Uh, this is about me. Julie covered it, but I'm based in New York. That part wasn't mentioned. Live on Long Island, about 40 minutes east of the city. 5 kids and one grandbaby who joined us in August. I'm very proud of him.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to get right into the presentation. This is actually part that we show to our prospective customers when we meet with them, because a lot of times they're asking, how is ePropertyCare related to our supplier? And this kind of lines it out. So alarm.com, many people have heard of them. And if you haven't, they're kind of the backing behind systems like ADT security and Brinks Home Security, and they kind of cut their teeth in the security world by doing alarm systems through those providers. They don't sell alarm systems directly to clients. They always sell through dealers, channel, and partners. In around 2011, they acquired a company called Point Central. And Point Central is the piece that is focused on multifamily and an emphasis on smart technology, really with the purpose of automation and management of multifamily. That's grown and evolved to include other things like student housing and build to rent. And we're a national service provider for Alarm and Point Central. So a lot of the things that are going into the innovation uh, in the platforms come because ePropertyCare is working with clients like yourselves and seeing what's needed in the field, and we bring that back to Alarm and Point Central, and they eventually incorporate a lot of our ideas into the platform. This slide is a new slide, also part of our presentation. And I guess what we see when we interact with a lot of prospective clients is that they've tried different parts that are around that wheel. So, like as an example, they may have a building and they may have chosen an access control system from one provider, a video surveillance system from another provider, locking solution on the doors from one, thermostat from another. And you could see there's about a dozen things on that wheel. I won't read them all, but when you're trying to manage that as all separate islands, it becomes unwieldy and complicated. So this is kind of what we focus on, looking at what's in place at the buildings, seeing what we can keep if it is salvageable, and then often upgrading it, modernizing it, and then bringing it under control of one cohesive platform. And that's what we do with Point Central. A lot of people ask us where have we done projects. Very proud of this chart. When I first joined the company about 4 years ago, it was mainly in the New England area. My business partner and founder is Boston based, and a lot of the work was up that way. When I joined in 21, we started growing and growing nationally, building the infrastructure around team and people to be able to do installations nationwide. And at this point, we've covered up more than half the country with projects. And this map is continually evolving, and we hope to fill in more states in 25.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question. In those states, what percentage of those are new construction that you've implemented
Uh,
versus, A, B, and C
it,
class?
yeah, it's interesting, Julie. I would say the numbers vary month to month, year to year, day to day. Right now, I would say the retrofit is probably 70%, 60 to 70%. New is probably in the 30 to 40%. Um, we've seen it as high as 50-50. It depends. I think as, things bounce back, God willing, next year, that'll probably, normalize a bit more. But we're prepared either way to do ground up development or retrofit.
Great,
In
thank
some
you.
regards, we like retrofit because they go faster. In other regards, we like new because we get to see projects coming out of the ground. Okay, next thing that we'll talk about is what actually is smart apartment technology or smart home. And basically, what we mean by it is internet connected sensors and devices that could be remotely managed. A lot of people are used to smart home technology. Oh, I have a Nest thermostat, I have a video doorbell, I have a door lock. But typically in the residential homeowner world, those are sitting on your Wi-Fi network. In the multifamily world, there are Wi-Fi networks, but sometimes those Wi-Fi networks are tied to the resident. They're not owned by the building owner or management company. And if the person moves out of their unit, the network could move out with them, and then the owner would lose control of the unit. In the solutions that we provide, we put in a small box like this. This is a cellular hub or gateway. And now, more recently, we've incorporated that gateway into the thermostat device. These devices give connectivity in the apartment units to all the devices in there, like the smart door lock, the smart thermostat, the water sensor, uh, other thing, light switches, plugs, blinds, anything that's in that unit could be controlled because we're putting in a permanent piece of infrastructure. A lot of times you'll hear or you may see in the course of looking at smart technology what is IoT, or you'll hear the term IoT, Internet of Things. So in our world, it's everyday devices like a door lock, a water valve, a thermostat could now have a sensor, and that sensor allows remote control, or a chip within it that allows it to be controlled remotely. Uh, Devices that were previously islands, a door lock with a key that was unmanaged. Now, with a chip on board or technology on board the door lock, I can manage that remotely. On top of that, there's monitoring, there's control. You're taking things that were unmanaged and now they're managed, and you're going from reactive to proactive. And then in doing so, the environments now become experiential. So, what we mean by that is we could give a resident an application to put on their phone, and they could use that application to raise and lower their thermostat, open their door lock, let someone into their unit. These are things that 10 years ago were impossible, and now they're very much attainable. This slide we love to share because pretty much every property manager that we've ever met in life, this has happened to them, and probably multiple times. So we asked them, have any of these things happened at your property? Water heater leaking. Yes. Call in the middle of the night, resident locked out. Yes. Running toilets, frozen pipes, pipe bursts. And then the question is that goes with that, how much time, money, and stress could you have saved if you would have known about those things and been able to proactively deal with them, or deal with them in a much more rapid fashion? This may be a little cringy for people that live in Texas, but when this deck was initially put together in 22, this was a real big issue. And Texas, since then, has experienced a bunch of events like this where buildings were not built with weatherproofing or insulation or cladding or anything that was in place to make them okay in deep freeze conditions. And what ended up happening is what you see on these slides. Icicles hanging from the ceiling, pipes bursting, flooding in units, big disaster. And what we're saying here is if the technology was in place in these units, they could have seen the temperature dropping. They could have remotely managed water or shut down parts of the plumbing system. and could have isolated or prevented a lot of damage. So the technology, besides an amenity, it's very much an asset protection play. A lot of people ask us, how does the technology work? And this is important. So in the unit, we put in the hub. Again, I'll show it to you. This is what goes into the unit, but these hubs communicate over cellular. A lot of buildings that were built a while ago don't have networks or didn't have a Wi-Fi network there. So what we're doing is creating networks within the units and then going over this segment here, the cellular network, and talking to alarm.com. So basically, there's the software experience and all the technology that Alarm has, and then in the unit, all the IoT devices.
Does that pull a lot of bandwidth from the Wi-Fi?
No, no, it's actually, well, it's not Wi-Fi traffic, it's cellular communication. It's going over the cellular network through AT&T or Verizon. And a lot of people ask us that, like, oh, my building has poor signaling. How would this work there?
Mm.
It's not like a telephone call. Like when you're on a call or FaceTime, you're sending a lot of data through the cellular connection there. And people say, oh, my building has poor cellular service. This technology is very, very light packet traffic. So it's sending commands over the cellular, raise heat. It's like 1 second of command, lower
Mm.
heat, unlock door, close door, turn on light, shut off light. So the system will work even if there's 1 bar of cellular. Obviously, the more bars, the better, but it's not heavily cellular intense. A lot of people come to us about building access control. It's one of the major parts that we provide now. So we talk about access control. It's really getting into the building through common areas, garages, gates, pool areas, gyms, um, and anything like that where you want to control access on your perimeter and then all your amenity spaces. Again, in a lot of buildings, people were using keys to get into a main door. There's complications with that. A lot of access control systems had fobs. People would lose fobs. They would have to constantly be recoded or rekeyed when people come and go. And now we moved in a direction where we've kind of removed the need for fob. So the buildings often are equipped with a pin pad, like what I'm circling here. You could type in a 6-digit code in one example. You could also use your phone as a means to unlock a door. And now what we're starting to see is the rise of using the cell phone as a fob itself. That's going through Bluetooth type of technology, but as you approach the reader, you could hold up your phone and your phone would be recognized through a token and you'd be able to get through the doors. So that's becoming quite popular now to kind of get rid of fob technology.
And
Or
such a savings for the landlords. I used to spend 175 to rekey each of my
oh yeah,
properties, and
yeah,
what a
that that
savings.
that's a big deal. So good you call that out, Julie. So in the apartment units, the locks that we provide, we do still recommend a hard key, but that key would be given to the management company alone. We're not typically giving the key to the resident anymore. Their access would be through the like a PIN number. There's other locks that we sell that are sleeker than this. They're touch screens, but typically the resident would be interacting with their PIN number or using their mobile phone to unlock and lock the door.
Do
They
you
also
typically?
can create guest codes, like if they had
Okay.
a visitor coming or a dog walker or a cleaning service, which is a benefit to the resident. Go ahead, you can ask something.
Do you typically give them these yeah, they're codes, or do they create them?
The code gets automatically generated by the
Okay.
software, but if they don't like it, it could be regenerated. They don't really have control over making it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a randomized code.
Okay. Cool.
The other part of the system that we focus on is water protection. And this is a big gotcha in a lot of the multifamily space. It's never a water leak on the first floor, it's always on the highest floor. There's a pipe burst, it causes major issue in the unit, it goes through the subfloor, ruins units beneath. So, in retrofit applications, you're not going to rip open every single unit. We say put it on a riser or branch of the plumbing system. But in new construction, we're really recommending that this goes into more of the plumbing system, even down to the individual units. And basically, what you're looking at is a flow meter and shut off in one device. So we could see water passing through the valve, and if there was a pipe burst emergency, this portion over here could actually mechanically turn the valve and shut off the water. People ask us, like, how does it work? Do I have to get involved with it? No, it's all rules based. We would say what's normal for a building and then what's in excess of normal, and we'd be able to automatically shut off the water in emergency, because the water burst will be on Christmas Day or when your guy is in Puerto Rico at the Airbnb and not able to shut the water. So we want it set up to work automatically. This is a water sensor in the middle of the screen. We use these near hot water tanks, in-unit laundry, dishwashers. So again, if there was water pooling in any of those places, property management and or the resident could be notified of that. Next part of the system, which is a big deal, is HVAC. So the resident gets the convenience of a smart thermostat. So they could be at work and say, oh, I want to lower my temperature by 5 degrees before I come home. And that's a convenience for them. Or they're laying in bed and they're too hot. They could raise or lower the temperature. But the real benefit to the management side is what we call predictive analytics. And we're looking at heating and cooling cycles, and we're seeing abnormal behavior on the HVAC equipment. So instead of the units going hard down in a failure, we could say the cycle time is too long. You should go and do proactive maintenance on the unit. The other thing that we talk about with property managers is the concept of vacant unit automation. So everyone and their mother that's managed properties, they walk into the vacant unit that's been left vacant for 1 to 3 months, and they go in there and it's freezing cold or it's broiling hot. And when we tell them this, of course, they start laughing because it's happened to every single one of them. And why did it happen? Because Joe the painter went in, he was hot, he put the air conditioning on 59, did a beautiful paint job, walked out, forgot, and no one went in that unit for weeks, if not months. And all of that energy waste is now going on the owner's side, not the resident side. So it's causing excessive billing problem for the management company or the owner. A lot of properties that we work with have existing surveillance systems. What they may not have is the ability to record footage, or that recording is on some ancient PC. The technology's evolved now that the recorder could be placed at the property, but it could be remotely reviewed. We've had a number of clients that have had issues. Unfortunately, they needed to provide footage to the police department, and we're able to get it right off the recorders, excerpt pieces of it, and give it to the authorities. We could take over existing surveillance systems often, not always, often, I'll say. And we have a number of different cameras that do different things. The other thing that we're starting to see the rise of is things like license plate recognition and things that are more advanced, like being able to look at longer range, higher image quality. Again, plate detection is a thing that people want. So we have different solutions that could support that.
You do anything with like the Ring technology for the
Doorbell?
doorbell? Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. So alarm.com has a number of video doorbell products. We use theirs because they're supported on the platform. Again, Ring is more of a residential homeowner product, not so much a commercial product. But yes, we have it, and that's really popular in like the townhomes, the build to rent communities, not so much in traditional MDU.
We've seen it on our properties where, the resident is taking the steps to do it, and I'd like them not to be, driving into my property. So that's great.
Yes. There's also one of the things that alarm.com has figured out is how to do it where if there is a video doorbell, only the resident that's in the unit can see the footage. The property managers can't tap into that. There's privacy or
Mhm.
spying that could go on. Like, why is someone always coming to this unit? Uh, they figure that out. So it's kind of locked down only to the resident. And then when the resident would leave the unit, like move out, all that footage gets wiped out. So they've done a good job on creating like a commercial grade video doorbell. This is an important slide, and I won't read all of it, but there's many different ways that having smart technology can impact NOI. And basically, when we're doing a deal with anybody, we're trying for them to see the benefit both ways. They're going to put in the smart technology, and they're going to have an amenity increase, and we'll say anywhere between $25 and $75 typically for having it. So they'll have some income production because of the smart technology, and then they're going to mitigate a lot of risk, the water damage, the HVAC cost, and anything that they're doing around rekeying. You could move towards unattended showing of the unit, so you're greatly reducing leasing labor expense. But basically, the deals will pencil nicely if they're like, oh yeah, I can knock out this expense, this expense, this expense, and have this fee adder. So there's a big NOI impact on these projects.
Everybody should take a picture of that. Can you go back and everybody, this
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
really, really important when you're trying to consider we cannot get any revenue increases right now. This is the way to look at it. Last week we talked about leak aware. This is another, these are other properties or other products that can certainly help with that. I did have a question, Jeff.
Sure.
Um, on the usage on the water, can you get
Mhm.
some insight on that as well to figure out, hey, there's 14 people living in this property?
Yeah. So right now, the valves that we have, they're not utility grade, meaning you're not able to bill on the meters themselves today.
Okay.
Coming in 25, there will be an actual sub-meter product that can be used for utility grade billing. So if you put that into, there are some people that go to companies like Minol and they'll put in like a full-blown sub-metering solution, but all they could do on that is sub-metering. The way our system will work is the cellular hub that we're putting in for the door lock, the thermostat, and all the other apartment amenities will also be able to harvest data back off the water meter and do the billing. So we're excited about that coming in, God willing, 25, but it'll kind of eliminate the need to have a separate sub-metering solution if you're doing an IoT solution side by side with it.
Amazing.
This is an example we talk about. This is a very large REIT, Invitation Homes. They have about 80,000 doors. And what they did, at least initially, I don't know if it's still the case, but they were charging $25 a month for access to the app to control the technology in the unit. So clearly at scale, trying to monetize around it. This one's interesting. This was another client of ours. They were capital firm syndicator, and what they were putting into their offering memorandum, their OM, was their plan around smart technology. You could take a picture of this also, but basically, this is how they thought they would monetize around it. They were actually showing the investor what parts and pieces they were putting in and how they expected to have a rental bump of $72. So again, in your financial modeling of your deal, yeah, you have a capital expenditure to put into technology, but then they had uh, income production thereafter. This is kind of showing a model of like how much energy could be saved by virtue of a smart thermostat, per turn savings, key management, lockbox services, rekeying, all different means to knock out expense. This is showing again some modeling around HVAC, HVAC repairs and servicing of things like water leaks, potential insurance savings by virtue of having the technology. Again, these are kind of building specific, but we're kind of showing different examples of like potential either income production or expense saving. Okay, so this is an important slide, and I like to talk about this because not all smart property solutions are created equally. There's still a bunch of them that only do a portion. So some of the pieces that we compete against, they may be very strong on one, but not all. So like as an example, they may be a lock solution or an access control solution, or like we just talked about, they only do water or water submetering or water detection, but nothing else. The other part is property management system integration. So you see the systems over here, and these are the six that I would say are the most common in the industry. There's a slew of others, but Point Central has built integration with Yardi, Appfolio, Resman, RealPage, Rent Manager, and Entrata. So basically what that means is when you're moving a resident into any of those systems in those tools, they get access through the smart technology system on the access control plans and on their unit. And then same goes by work orders. So if there's a work order in the units, automatically Yardi can push to our system, hey, Joe needs to get access to unit 107 to fix the shower. And the provisioning and deprovisioning of access works automatically. So if you're ever looking at one of these solutions, and let's say you're on Resman, make sure that there's an actual integration with the smart property solution that you're looking at so that they work seamlessly together. Many of them do not have all those integrations. So that's a big pitfall. Some of the solutions require a Wi-Fi network. So again, make sure that you understand what is the actual network requirement, if any, to use the system, complexity to use, learn, or train on, the experience of the vendor that's implementing your system, and then I'll talk about this in the next slide, what we call smart building as a service. This is a longer list of integrations that Point Central has. Some of them you'll see are for like Guesty, which is a short-term rental system. Many of you may have short-term rentals. Point Central, just for your benefit, they have technology that works for that type of infrastructure as well, for that type of housing product. Smart building as a service is something that we hatched internally. Basically, it's for teams that want a technology system like this, but don't have the ability to manage it themselves. So we're able to take over more parts of it and do more monitoring, maintenance, ongoing troubleshooting of the system if required. Industry trends. This is probably a little bit dated by now, but some of the key points. 30% of prospective residents won't rent a unit if it's not available for tour at a time that they want to do it. So, we talk about that a lot. Oh, I want to do a tour on Super Bowl Sunday, or I'm a nurse and I'm gonna get off shift at 10 p.m. The leasing office isn't typically open then. So if there was a smart tech system in place where they could get a code to get through the main lobby glass and then into a unit, that might actually improve your shot of renting your units. 52% of millennials want to access their home with a PIN code or smartphone. I would say probably now that's even higher. This, again, is a couple of years old. And 90% of commercial insurance claims involve water damage. The big fat problem in a lot of buildings. I still to this day don't understand when I meet with prospects why they say no to water protection, considering almost every single one of them have had problems along the way. Last thing, last couple things. The millennial view of home ownership is not what it was when I was a kid. I'm almost 52 years old. It was like, of course you're going to buy a house. Now people are like, oh, I don't need a house. I want to be a nomad, a digital nomad. I want to live everywhere. So as I'm opting away from home ownership, I want to live in an apartment that's more home-like, more amenitized. The smart blinds, the smart lock, the smart light. I want to have everything in my unit. So a lot of new construction developers, Class A housing, they're putting in all these gadgets because it's really attractive to people that are opting away from owning a home. And then what we're seeing is not all, but certain parts of multifamily, it's becoming more hospitality like. So, no one would think about going to a hotel, even Holiday Inn, with a key. You're used to using a card. Now many of those places are going towards phone also. So like multifamily is kind of trailing that, but getting there as far as, yeah, keys are ancient. We're not doing that anymore. I'm gonna skip over this.
I would think that also on during COVID, those folks that had this implementation of being able to show those model units
Hmm.
or being able to get a code for an empty unit was hugely successful.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, that's really where around 2020, that was the rise of self-guided touring. I will tell you that there's a lot of religion about it still. There's
Mm,
some management companies, they're like, yep, all in, whole hog. We love it. We're absolutely doing it. We see it as a means to drive out leasing labor
mhm,
expense. And then there's others like, absolutely not. This has to be like guided by a person. We're never getting rid of leasing agents.
mm,
So we say it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. You could do staff 9 to 5, whatever hours you want. But then when you have the after hours, the nights, the holidays, the weekends, the technology becomes an enabler where you could turn on a schedule between 5 and 9 p.m. and you could allow tours to be conducted when you're not there. So then they're like, oh, maybe we don't hate this as much as we thought. Some
amazing.
groups all in want to do it continue, constant, and that's their way, and others are kind of like getting there. But COVID was really the shot in, no pun intended, the shot in the arm on you could
Mhm,
do this with electronic access. In our system, like the self-guided experience, it's kind of like Calendly. You go on a website, you could see the units that are available in the building, you pick a time slot. Next thing you know, you get a code texted to your phone and you're able to go and visit the units with that code in that particular time range. If your window lapses, your code is no good. You can't come back 3 days later and use that code. We've also implemented some new stuff around geofencing, so you can't like be in China, get a code, give it to a squatter. Like there's
mhm.
no fraud on this. Like the codes will work when you're nearby the building in the time slot you're allowed. Uh, you guys could take a picture of this slide. I certainly invite you to take advantage of this. So we do have a pilot program. I'm never asking anyone that's unsure about the technology to buy a whole building full of it. Buy one unit full of it and get used to the technology, and we could support you on that. So you could put a hub in, a lock, a thermostat, and give it a test drive for 90 days. So highly recommended if you're new to the game or new to the technology, but buy yourself a setup and test it out. And oh, by the way, this could work in your own personal home. Forget about an apartment building. If you don't even have an apartment building, you could try it out there.
What's your top seller of all of the implementations?
The basic table stakes right now, Julie, is some kind of hub going into the unit, a lock and a thermostat. As
Mhm.
time has progressed, the hub is now in the thermostat. The color thermostat has become the hub. So
Oh,
it's kind of knocked out this part. People used to think about unplugging it or taking it or tampering it. Now, because it's in the thermostat, they're less likely to do that. We have a number of different locks, but this one that you see on the screen, price value, it's a great deal. Quickset's a well-known brand. It's a very
mhm.
good lock. We've rolled out literally thousands of them. They work nicely, and there's a lot of colors and styles and choices. You could have
What
modern, traditional, black, bronze, black, brushed. There's a million different parts. And
gold? What about the battery? How do you keep track of that? That was always a concern I had on my properties.
yeah, so the locks report in on
Oh,
battery health. because they're connected to the hub, we
Terrific.
see the status of the batteries, and then we set up battery level reporting. So it could be as anywhere between 20 and 40%, depending on what your tolerance is. But like at 40%, you'll be aware of it. When you start getting to like 20 to 25%, you should start thinking about doing a service call over there and
Hmm.
just proactively changing it. No one should get locked out because you'll have a weekly report and it'll tell you this is the stuff. It's like at 20, lower than 20, and you'll see that you have to service those. You could do it where your resident could change it themselves. It's like I say, it's like changing the batteries on a toy. It's very simple. But if you need to send maintenance out, it's a 5-minute visit, one screw, pull up the pack, drop in your batteries, and you're good to go. I'll go quickly on this, just to kind of show you different types of projects that we've done. So this is a property that Julie's personally involved in. Used to be called Country Club. It's now been renamed to Cali Crossing. I want to believe that the tech refresh was part of the repositioning that went on there to improve the asset. It was a C. I would say it's
Mhm.
now made its way into the Bs, and they've done a lot of tech there. Put in the
Mhm.
hubs, thermostats, deadbolt locks. Now, in later stages, put in a newer access control system. There's gates at the property that are now controlled by our system and
Mm.
video. So it turned into a very nice project and 10 buildings, and they're all kind of unified through the technology. This one's interesting. This is one that's in my partner's neck of the woods. It was a smaller, like historical building, a piece that was kind of in the front. They built behind it. This was kind of like in the world of adaptive reuse, where you're not tearing
Mm.
down historical stuff, but building around. It's not a huge property, but kind of shows the fusion of old and new together, and bringing an old asset up to modern standards. I like that one. This was another one that the same developer did. Uh, it's called McElwain School, also in Mass. It was a old school building, and then they built another phase behind that. So we have a number of clients that, believe it or not, have done that, where they take school properties because the bones are good, and they make them into apartment units. So they put in cameras, smart locks, flow meters, there's intercoms and thermostats there. And then as time has progressed, then we've gotten stronger as a company. We've started taking on much, much larger projects. This one's in Baltimore. You could see it's like a city block kind of
Mm.
campus here. This owner has the apartment units, retail, mixed use retail on the bottom, and then kind of off the screen is an office building. So they own all of this. And first foray into it was to change the locks because they had a big issue with managing almost 380 locks. And now we're looking at additional phases here around access and surveillance. We'll go quickly on this and then we'll get to your questions. So these are frequently asked questions. Does the system use Wi-Fi? The answer is no. It's not required to have a Wi-Fi network for this to work. The hubs can go over cellular and function by themselves. Do I need a dedicated network for it? No, you don't. But sometimes people build, as part of a new building, they may put in a network for IoT devices. Can I integrate in with my property management system? Absolutely. 6 that we have listed. It may change if there's a demand for more. This is a big one. Who handles the installation of the equipment? We do. So the system is fully turnkey. We don't expect for our clients to install it themselves. We go to their properties, travel there with our teams and subcontractors, and we handle it. So it's end-to-end project management from us. Do I offer a pilot so you could try it out? Absolutely. Try it out as on little as one unit so you get familiar with it. What happens if there's a power outage? Will the system keep working? The answer is yes, with respect to the door locks, and that's where we get asked a lot of times. Well, oh, what if power goes out? I'm going to lose access to my
Mm.
units. No, you won't. The locks are battery operated, and past that, the codes are stored inside the locks. The code space is up to 250 codes per lock So you have tons of code space there. And you can't push new codes or delete codes during a power outage, but your resident will not get locked out. Do you offer a fully managed service? Yes, we do. So if you needed more help running it, we can take more or less depending on what you need. But every one of our implementations comes with training for the residents, training for the property managers, video recording of training. We give a resident guide for the residents on how to use the system. And don't underestimate that, because the support and the training is a big part of being successful on this. We do a nice job with that. Do I have to implement all the components, or can I start with just one? You could start with locks and you could add thermostats. You could have locks and thermostats and add lights. You could do a surveillance system and add access control. It's kind of a every building is a snowflake. No two are the same, and we'll tailor a solution around your budget and what you're looking to do. Can you finance the system? Yes, you can. We have different ways that we could talk to you about that, including leasing. It's important. Can I include this in a cost seg study? Yes, it's part of capital and fixtures. Mark could probably do an hour on that, but things like this are allowed to be cost segged. And then what is included in the software as a service each month? Basically, the ability to use the software on your phones for your residents, a portal to manage all the devices, our ongoing support, like 1-800-HELP-ME support, and just our general caring and feeding of the system. So you're getting good value for your money as far as what are you paying for each month, a resident amenity, a property manager portal, and again, support from us. Q&A. Anyone could ask a question at this point, and then I'll leave this slide up here. If you want to reach to me in any one of these channels, please take a picture and contact me on any project you have a question about.
Oh, that is fantastic, Jeff. So thorough. My gosh. I do have questions. So Randy's got his hand up. Randy,
Yeah, go ahead.
ask your question. There you
So
go.
my question was more or less the thermostats. Are those battery backed up?
The thermostats, they operate a couple different ways. Some systems have what's called a common wire. So the common wire can power the thermostat from like the heating system. And then there's other cases where the common isn't available and the thermostat could work off battery if necessary.
Okay, that was my
Far as
question on
as
like a
far as
significant outage.
Yeah, so like the thermostat settings and all the configuration, that's kind of within the system and the technology itself. The ability to create schedules and other things, that's part of the features within these thermostats.
Excellent.
Okay,
Great,
thank
great
you.
question.
Yeah, sure.
So what are you seeing these improvements? Are you seeing it across A, B, and C? Are you seeing it mostly in Bs? What do you see? What's the update there?
Well, I think that's probably one of the common myths, Julie, is that people have a tendency to like self-select. And what I mean by that is that, oh, well, I have a Class A building, so I can do it. Or I'm buying a C with an aspiration to get to B, and I can't do it. And what we say is, yes, you can. You just may not put in as quote unquote fancy a system in a C type of asset with B aspirations. We have student housing operators that are putting it in because besides giving something to the kids, they want to control the behaviors. They want to control heating and cooling ranges. They want to know what's happening in the unit. So what I would say is pretty much for every multifamily property, there's a solution that we could figure out. Would I put in like the fanciest door lock and the most beautiful thermostat in a, workforce housing or affordable housing? No. But would I put it in? Yes, because there's still benefit that you could derive. So across the board, we have clients ABC, student, and BTR. And again, we're kind of crafting it around objectively what's the budget and what's the experience that they want to deliver for A, their on-site team, and B, their resident. But yeah, it works on every housing class.
Yeah, it makes,
Nothing can't be done right now.
And if you think about it, we are all attached to our phones. And doesn't matter what class you are of people, whatever demographic, we all have our phones. We all want to be connected.
Sure.
And who's to say that you are in a C class that you don't want to turn down your temperature gauge? You want to have that. Those people also want to have that technology. So don't be thinking, oh, my asset is not high enough in class or doesn't bring the right demographic. I think it's worth taking a look at it and how much you can save.
Yeah.
What's the smallest size implementation that you would be looking to do?
As far as units
Yeah.
at this point, we really just, even to this day, we don't turn away anybody. So I have some buildings that are like 20 units, and I have stuff that's like 400.
Okay.
When we get to the smaller stuff, what we would say it's more like self-install, remotely activated and supported. So what I mean by that is if you have a 20 unit building, odds are you have a handyman, a maintenance man, general contractor, someone that you're working with on the property generally. But I've even had guys that, they self-manage and they do everything themselves. So we've kind of enabled them to get to the technology. We still sell it. We will ship it to them, and then they could bring in their own trade to install the door lock, wire up the thermostat. We give them training on what's required to do it, and then they roll through the units at their pace and do it. When it gets into the larger deployments, call it like the 50 units on and up, that's where we're sending, teams on the ground and doing an installation. I would say like in the larger projects, typically we're sending a crew with 5 men, a supervisor and 2 teams of 2, and we're doing, call it 30 to 40 units a day, 25 to 40 a day, just depending on what we're dealing with and how fast we could get in and out of the units. Most of our work is we're going out and doing the installation, just because the owner wants it done quickly and they want it done to a certain standard.
Yeah, those are great. So when does somebody reach out to you for a quote? Is it during the due diligence period? When should they get a clear understanding of the costs and the savings?
I would say if they're interested in an asset and this is part of their value add plan, as soon as you have a grasp on like what you're dealing with as far as like the units, the condition of them, for us, we can do a lot of the quoting remotely. We don't have to necessarily go to the asset. If it's like in-unit IoT, get us a picture of like current state, the door lock, the door frame, front side, back of door, and then at least a couple units of the thermostat wiring, and we could give you a quote within usually a day or two. When we get into access control and video surveillance, because the buildings are larger, separation, cabling, conduit, drilling, we'll go on site and we'll physically examine the buildings. We'll send a crew out and they'll look at what needs to be done. But in-unit IoT typically can be done over the phone remote, access video, like gates, garage doors. We're going to go and look at that in person. But as soon as you're thinking about buying and you have this in your plan, let us know and we'll work up a budgetary number for you. We can make it subject to, and subject to could be subject to site survey, subject could be, different conditions that come out once you actually own the thing. If you're building a building, as soon as you have architectural drawings or construction set, you could send it to us and we could review it. I'm doing a project right now for a developer in New York. There's no building. He just sent us like drives full of architectural plans. We worked up a whole estimate just by reviewing the plans and figuring out like what needs to be done on the building.
Fantastic. Well, this is an amazing amount of information for everybody here in the house with the live conversation, but also those that are watching it on YouTube. James, have we missed anything that you would want to put in here so everybody, if Jeff has missed anything?
No, I think Jeff did. I mean, Jeff did a great job explaining everything. I would reiterate this is a great value add play for all asset classes. I come from the value add operator space, um, working here in Texas, and from an overall cost standpoint, what you're going to get on your returns as far as from not only resident retention, because I think that's something that everybody needs to focus on right now is resident retention. Jeff alluded to the turn costs. Those are very expensive. Can be $5,000, $10,000 depending on the condition of the unit. So keeping people in place and being able to get those rent bumps, but more importantly on the expense side of that NOA equation is key. I did put in the chat, and we do use a third party like evaluation tool. So if you guys do have an asset you guys are looking to budget, we can create a kind of a report that gives you some of the operational efficiencies as well as some other data points that are third party. So we can do kind of an evaluation on a particular party in a particular market segment. So if there's something you are looking at, maybe entertaining the idea of implementing this type of value add play, we can definitely take a look at that from a more of a third party kind of stance and get you that report. So but no, Jeff, you did a good job.
Oh, thank you. That's a good point. Yeah, we can help you with some like objective modeling. It's not our own tool; it's a third party. A lot of people in the industry are embracing it because it helps to kind of show what's out there, and it takes in like data from like Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's market specific, zip code specific, so it really helps in that regard. I think the last thing that I would mention, Julie, is we're not the only company that's in the world right now doing this. We're one of a smaller handful that have really survived over the last 5 years in multifamily. But whatever provider you're looking at, the technology has to be good. And what I mean by that is the lock, the thermostat, the software, all that has to be wonderful. Don't do business if you don't believe in their product, but really go deep on what does day 2 look like? What does the training look like? What does the ongoing support look like? These properties are fluid. People are coming, going, gates break, stuff happens, fires, floods. Who's the company that's really going to be there for you through all of that? Some of our clients go through renovations, their plans change, and we've really built a fantastic service organization alongside of very good technology. So it's not set it and forget it in this stuff. Do I think it's simple? Yes, but it's not running by itself either. So you need a great company to kind of stay there with you. And then this business is all about not doing one property, it's doing all of your properties together. And that's what we're really here for. We have a lot of portfolio owners. That's what we're really shooting for. And I'm not getting to building 2 if we're doing a bad job on building 1.
Yeah. Sure. And one thing I'd add to that, Jeff, is making sure your company is financially backed, right? We see a lot of prop tech graveyard kind of situations where a lot of proprietary locks that have entered the market. Everybody has their lock or their thermostat that they built out of their garage. Nest thermostats, you hear that a lot. They're not really good for multifamily. They have to be reprogrammed, which takes labor and it takes time. But make sure that you're looking at companies that are financially backed. We're backed by alarm.com, $3.4 billion market space. So we have the backing there. But make sure that you're working with a company that has that, because there has been a lot of prop tech companies. I'm not even talking in the lock space, but I'm talking about from AI to leasing to, it's all over the place. These companies come out of nowhere. They take your money and then they're gone, right? So, and then you're stuck with a product that doesn't work. You're stuck with a service that doesn't work, and you can't get support. So, just as a general word of caution, whenever you're evaluating companies, even like ourselves, make sure that you're doing your due diligence on the financial aspect. Make sure they're legit. Make sure they're backed. Make sure if they go anywhere, who's going to have your back, because that's very important.
Yeah, 100%. That's fact. And some of our competition is our best salesperson when they fold up their tents and go out of business. So yeah, dig into the financials of your provider and the underlying tech platform. 100% real. That's happened to a lot of our clients.
Yeah. Well, you guys, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I know it's been probably 4 years since we had John, so it's great to have the new folks who've been in the room and the people that follow us on a weekly basis. This is great information and certainly will help to build the NOI, which has been challenging over the last couple of years.